Historically speaking, folding phones have been pretty darn expensive, much more expensive than a traditional phone. They're also kind of on the fragile side, right? If you've got a screen that can fold, folding ultra thin glass, that's just not going to be as durable as normal Gorilla Glass. While water resistance seems like it's being solved, dust resistance is still a thing that most folding phones just don't have. Historically, they've had worse battery life than a normal phone is typically going to have, and due to being very thin, just like the battery problem, they have had some issues with thermals as well. There are a lot of things you have to just kind of accept when you buy a folding phone. So whatever advantages folding phones must have, they have to outweigh all of those disadvantages. What I'm going to do in this video is not advocate for specifically one folding phone, but instead, I'm going to do my best to advocate from my perspective for the folding phone concept. I don't think folding phones are for everyone, right? I don't think everyone is going to really get the same benefit out of the advantages that I'm going to outline in this video. But for some of us, once you get used to having these benefits, the utility of these folding phones, you almost just can't go back to a slab style phone. And that's what I'm going to try to outline in this video for those people who maybe don't understand. So the first thing we need to address is the fact that there are obviously two different kinds of folding phones. Well, primarily two different kinds of folding phones. There are the flip style phones and the fold style phones. Flip style phones, I must admit, don't really speak to me nearly as much as the book style folding phones do, but there is definitely some utility there. First off, they just aren't nearly as expensive as the book style phones, coming in much closer to the $1,000 mark. In fact, Samsung appears to be primed to release a sub-$1,000 Z Flip 7 style device here very, very soon. But what do you get out of a flip style phone, right? You get a phone that looks and behaves like a normal phone, but it can fold over and be a whole heck of a lot smaller, making it fit into your pocket a lot more comfortably. In particular, if you happen to be one of those ladies out there who have those pants with teeny tiny pockets. My wife complains about this all the time, and that is a big reason why she loved her Z Flip phone. You also have these new larger cover displays, which allow you to get quick things done without actually opening up the device, and that might help you cut down on doom scrolling. But guys, I'm going to focus on the book style phones because I think that's where things really open up and get interesting. So we're going to be looking at the Oppo Find N5, but it doesn't have to be the Oppo Find N5, right? It could be the Galaxy Z Fold 6, it could be the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, it could be, what else is in front of me here, the OnePlus Open. All of this stuff is by and large going to apply just the same way. With a book style folding phone, you get obviously the benefit of a normal phone, and in particular with some of these newer phones like the Oppo Find N5, these things are so thin and so light that compared to a normal phone, you don't really feel like anything is amiss when you're using it in this mode. There it is compared to a Pixel 9 Pro XL. I think that really does a pretty darn good job of illustrating the point that I'm trying to make. It feels like a normal phone. They've really gotten that part figured out. Since I don't think I should need to explain to you the utility of a normal phone, let's go ahead and open this thing up and we can really start talking about why I think this matters and why I enjoy this experience so much. I think the first thing that people think about when they see a phone like this, a screen this size, is they think, wow, that's going to be great for media consumption. And that is exactly why I want to make a video like this, because I think that there are some misconceptions about what these phones are actually good for. Now, I'm not saying it's bad for media consumption, but I don't think it's exactly what they're built for. If I pull up a video here on YouTube, yes, that is a fairly large canvas to enjoy this video on, absolutely. But if I fire this up on my Pixel 9 Pro XL and I go full screen, let's see if we can kind of get these two lined up, you'll see that it's not that big of a difference, right? Like, it's just the aspect ratio kind of coming into play here. This is bigger, but it's not that much bigger. And it also happens that these normal phones tend to have a little bit better speakers because they're thicker. There's just more room for the sound to sort of resonate, or however you would want to put it. They just have more room in that thickness for better speakers. So just straight up media consumption is not what I think these things are great at. Until you shift things and then you start doing the media consumption in the way that makes sense on these devices. And there's two ways that you can go about this. And here's the first one. The video is playing. Let's go home and let's utilize picture-in-picture. This is such a large canvas that you can have a pretty decently large screen pulled up, and then you can continue to do other things. You can pull up your web browser or your app of choice, and you can have, most of this screen completely unobscured and have this video just sort of running wherever you want it to be. For some reason, I want it to be in that corner. But you can see what I mean. You can zoom this thing in, zoom it out, and really take advantage of this large canvas. Or you can full screen this, swipe down with two fingers on these Oppo devices, fire up your second application, and now what you have is your YouTube video on the left with your comments and your next videos, so forth and so on, and then whatever your second app is over here on the right-hand side. And if we really want to get absolutely crazy with this on some devices like this, you can go even further than this. Just as an example, I'm going to do a short swipe, pull up my taskbar. Let's go ahead and we'll just grab the Play Store, and we're going to drop this right here as a third application. And now we have all three of these open. Let's go ahead and expand this. So it's playing down here at the bottom. Two other apps up here that I'm kind of doing whatever it is I'm doing with. And I can actually expand these as well. Just the sheer amount of flexibility when it comes to these devices, I think that's where they shine. And more often than not, when I'm watching multimedia, I am multitasking with it. What happens so much is that I am in a perspective kind of like this, where the video's on one side, the other app is on the other. I used this example the other day when there was a really bad severe weather outbreak happening, and I had Radar Omega opened up over here, sort of tracking the weather. I had a social media feed open, tracking people posting about what was happening, and then I had a live stream opened up as well, showing what was happening. There's a channel called Ryan Hall, y'all, and he does a great job of really digging deep and showing you what's going on. So I was jumping between all of these different applications. But of course, having a large screen is going to be useful for a ton of other things. Maybe not specifically multimedia consumption, but it is going to be useful for a lot of stuff. How about photo editing? You want to edit a photo and just have a much larger view of the photo that you are actually messing around with? Does that seem like that would be useful to you? I feel like that definitely is a very useful thing. How about navigating with Google Maps? Having a much larger canvas for that is also really, really useful. And if you're like me and you use this in your car in a little phone holder, I don't actually use Android Auto. I just use this because check this out. I can have my map navigation right there. Let's actually just do a two-finger swipe down, and we will just go ahead and grab YouTube Music, and I can have my navigation and my music right there. And I basically have navigation the size of a normal phone with my music still up and running just fine. At the risk of seeming like an old person, I do kind of think there's utility in having such a large viewfinder for your camera. You do look like that old guy at the music festival taking photos with his iPad, but nonetheless, that's kind of a cool thing to be able to do. And you do have these other options as well. Like, how about having this sort of dual screen mode where you can have the photo you just took on one side and the viewfinder, I should say, on the other side. Or how about going the other direction and using the cover display to take really high quality selfies? And then last but not least, using it as its own tripod. You could use your hand to trigger the shutter on a timer. There's a lot. I could probably sit here and rattle off example after example of this stuff, right? So I've got my notes pulled up with my monthly bills, and I've got my bank account next to that. And maybe I've got the calculator in that third app location down below. Maybe I've got a news article pulled up, and I've got my notes open up on the other side there because I'm taking notes to make a video or to write an article over on shanecraig.tech. If this is something that speaks to you, if this is how your brain works and you like being able to multitask in that sort of way, these devices can be very quickly something that you feel like you cannot live without. If you are the type of person that you're happy to have that, one smaller screen and you can swipe along the bottom and jump back and forth between apps and you're happy to do that, folding phones might not make any sense for you. But if you're like me and you've always got maybe 2 or 3 streams of thought going at once and you want to have that video open on one side and the other thing you're doing on the other side, and maybe that's just how your brain operates, it might be for you. Gaming is another thing that people kind of always think about with these devices, but I'm going to put a spin on this as well. Rather than just having this game be in full screen, that's kind of a square aspect ratio that doesn't make a lot of sense. Do this like I was talking earlier with multimedia, where there's a game going, but there's also a second thing going. You can be playing Minecraft or whatever it might be, and you can have a video going up there at the top as well. It's not just about doing one thing really well. Sometimes it is, right? Some applications are phenomenal on a larger screen, but a lot of the time it's about doing 2 things. It's about being that kind of power user. Whether or not that's worth spending probably over $1,500, maybe not having the best camera setup in the world, maybe having some sense of paranoia in the back of your mind that one day your screen could just spontaneously crack, whether it's worth all of that to you to have these sorts of abilities, that is a decision that you have to make and I cannot make for you. But for me, I will tell you 10 out of 10 times that the answer is absolutely yes. Thanks for watching. Consider becoming a channel member by clicking that join button down below to make me just a little bit less reliant on YouTube's fickle ad revenue policies. Subscribe for more content just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.